Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar on how to sell promotional products through Sage. I'm your host, Zach Dewhurst, the Business Development Manager at DecoNetwork, and this week's guest is Jared Thorndike, the VP of Business Development at Sage. How's it going, Jared?
It is going well, Zach. Thanks for having me today.
Jared, I'm really excited to talk about promo products. We at Deco Network have seen a drastic amount of growth when it comes to everything promotional product. We are seeing more and more of our users offering promotional products, and those who do offer promotional products, it's becoming a bigger part of their business. And as you see in front of me, we have tons of promotional products. I like to look at it. If it's branded, it's often a promotional product. We kind of used to think, hey, it's just something that you give away. That's a promo product. Not necessarily. Everything from giveaways at a trade show to selling merchandise, at a place of business. How I got started in the industry, Jared, is when I was 19 years old, my best friend's dad owns a restaurant. And that restaurant was featured on the Travel Channel and the Food Network. Long story short, they had a 2-hour wait every single day. You know what you're going to do when you have a 2-hour wait? You're going to buy something that you may or may not need because it's a bar and they were just drinking. And right next to it is they had a display counter with t-shirts. We would sell 100 t-shirts a week. And the average meal, they may profit $4 or $5 off of the meal minus alcohol. In a restaurant, you only make money off of drinks. The food, you barely do. But if you think about it, every time they sold a meal without a cocktail, they made more money when that customer bought a t-shirt, which is the customer paying to market the business. And t-shirts and apparel are walking billboards. So one thing I think that's often overthought in our industry is apparel is a promotional product. Don't just think of the hard goods themselves. And that's what I think a lot of us just think of. And again, if you can get your customer to pay to market your business, there's no such better form of marketing. And it doesn't have to be just a shirt. Even if that shirt's not worn, Jared, every day your customer opens their closet door, guess what they look at? The branded shirt. Every time they open up their kitchen cupboard, what do they see? A branded mug or tumbler. Promotional products are just the ultimate way to market because your customer's paying to go through it. The problem, Jared, is it's not like a t-shirt that you can buy a heat press and all of a sudden start printing your own stuff. You need to have a support of essentially network of decorators so that you can offer these thousands of different types of products and put out, that perfect item. And which most of the time, if it's one of these hard goods, you're just playing that middleman role and helping the customer get the right item. So I'm real excited to talk about Sage, how the platform works, and even how some of our contract decorators on Deco Network can join and be one of those decorators for those large run orders and so forth for apparel and other products.
Sure,
So Jared, go
sure.
ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, and you brought up some really interesting points and a couple of them hit home with me just to even get started was you talk about just like being at like more of like an event-based scenario with that restaurant, and a perfect example of this is what's happened recently with just, for instance, the Masters. The golf tournament just happened again. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and I think the stat that I heard the other day was they were doing upwards of $1 million per hour in merchandise sale at a golf tournament, which is just it's insane. So when you talk about that, that's just the amount of traffic, the amount of product that's going in and out is just so substantial. And again, it's just what you said. A lot of it is apparel based. So a lot of times people don't make that distinction between the two, or at least from our standpoint, we definitely make well, actually, we don't make the distinction between the apparel world and then what we call the hard goods world. The other point I was going to make too is you talk about the impression aspect of things, of like even though it might not be something that you utilize necessarily every day, but for instance, I know one of the biggest impression based items that's out there that you would think about are what they call kitchen gadgets. So kitchen gadgets are actually one of the biggest impression things that the industry has. That is just, you know, think about it, but all of a sudden you have a bottle opener that you got at a particular event, and then every time that you go to open up, you know, your favorite beverage, and it's right there, and it says whatever you got that event at, and it's just it'll be there for 10, 15, 20 plus years even. So the impact of promotional products as a whole, especially when you talk about hard goods, and the variety of what you can have with that, from really nice, expensive items to then obviously something as simple as a bottle opener, which is, you know, obviously that on the smaller end, but it can still have a pretty lasting impact, especially when you're trying to sell that to an actual customer from a distributor standpoint. Now, from a distributor point with trying to decide whether or not you want to get into the industry from that aspect, sometimes a lot of people hesitate because of a variety of factors. One is going to be the loss of control. So, you know, if you're typically a contract decorator, then you know exactly what the product that's coming out because you're the one that's doing that. So, what we found is sometimes there's a little bit of hesitancy within that aspect of losing that control because you're placing the order and the faith in that supplier that is also going to be doing the decorating to make sure that they uphold those standards to then your customer that you may have had for a substantial period of time. So we always encourage people to come up with a subset of certain suppliers that you do trust that have those good products, that good customer service, and that good decorating capabilities to get started, especially if this is somewhat new for you. So there's a lot of different discussions that we can end up going down in regards to all this, but just to kind of dive into this, we'll flip through some of these slides to give you a better idea of us as a company and then the services that we provide. So you mentioned before, we've been kind of discussing the who makes up Sage's network. So from our standpoint, what we call the promotional product suppliers are going to be, again, those the ones that are actually providing those products, and then whether or not they're decorating those or not still doesn't matter to us. Then you have the distributors. Naturally, those are the ones that are going out to market to actually sell those products and services for the particular event or need based on the customer's needs. And then you have the decorators. Obviously, most of your network knows exactly what that is. So as we go through, it's just that you can see right here, and you'll notice that we put the your shop can be under both of these categories because at least from the Sage standpoint, we typically lump decorators in with the distributor side for that very reason, because a lot of times decorators are also selling the hard goods as well as then trying to do the decorating aspect from their standpoint. From our database standpoint, so then again, what we actually provide for the industry is we're basically like or initially we're the yellow pages. So we basically have access to virtually every single promotional product supplier that's in the industry that is verified and validated. So we go through painstaking efforts to make sure that every supplier is, again, just that, vetted, that they are active in the industry, that they are aware of the decorating processes, they've got coded pricing. They understand the different levels between going from the what we call the end buyer to then the distributor to then the supplier basis, and that consists of 4,100 suppliers, over 1.2 million products that are currently in our database. So then you'll go, when was Sage actually started? So the company was founded in 1992. And again, with the sole mind of just providing technology tools to make the transaction process a lot easier between distributors and suppliers within the industry. And I put this other little anecdote in here just because I think it's pretty important to give you an idea of where we sit in the landscape of the industry. So in 2011, Sage entered an agreement with the Industry Association, which is PPAI, Promotional Products Association International, which is a little bit of a tongue twister. And it provides members, the association members, their first license of our software as a member benefit. So it can work both ways. It's kind of semantics where you could say, hey, when you join PPAI, you get your first license of Sage as a member benefit. You can also say it the other way around. Hey, when you join Sage, you get PPAI as a member benefit. You get membership to the industry trade association as a member benefit. So it just depends on your perspective on which one that you want to say as far as your benefit based on what you're trying to achieve. But when this happened in 2001, it was met with pretty um, uh, great applause from an industry perspective. Naturally, most people were paying double, meaning they were paying us and then paying the association each individually, and it definitely solidified our company as well as in the value of the association itself, from like the educational advocacy component to then work in harmony with each other.
Yep. And Jared, just to stop you, because recently I was at a trade show, and I was a little confused. Okay, we have Sage, we have PPAI. How do they work together? So again, the way I looked at it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sage is the software where we're connecting again suppliers, distributors, decorators. PPAI is the nonprofit organization that has all of the education and the tools to kind of help you become successful. I mean, you need just outsourcing something sounds easy, but there's still stuff to learn about the industry. And the more you know, the more successful you're going to be. So you essentially have that partnership where PPAI is able to educate, correct? And then Sage has all the nice software to make it all work together. And I do know PPAI has a very big trade show, first or second week of the year, every year, Las Vegas. We at DecoNetwork are real excited to attend this year. We've not done it in the past because it always backs up into the Long Beach Impression Show, which is a very big one for apparel. But the PPAI show in Las Vegas, I've heard no other promotional product show is anywhere near like that. And we're just real excited to be there next year.
Yeah, that show, I always call that week the marathon week because it is quite exhausting, and it is definitely promotional products overload. I think there's oh gosh, I think there's 3,000 or so booths at that show. I'm trying to remember the mileage on it. I think they said if you walk up and down every aisle, it's 10 plus miles or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact figures on that, but it is you really have to go into that show with a dedicated plan of attack, just because it's pretty daunting. Now they do also have, before the trade show even happens, they have education day, which is really helpful and helps you get kind of your year started, learn about different trends that are going on, different legislation that is happening that may affect what's going on from like product safety components or that aspect of things. So there's a lot of different reasons to attend that trade show other than just finding product.
Yep. Yep.
So the next slide, why join Sage? So the most important thing you'll see here is going to be just that access to market. Suppliers will have the access to over 45,000 distributor users, is what we consider the industry from a distributor standpoint. The reverse is going to be naturally the same from a distributor standpoint. They're going to have access to those 4,100 different supplier companies that are available. And then lastly, then that third component, decorators, would be the exact same thing. They would have access to the 45,000 distributor users. And what I mean by that is within our platform, we have the suppliers that are listed within the platform, that we also have a decorator listing as well. So that's actually a really interesting point to make in regards to this webinar, especially, is because typically sometimes that gets overlooked, but there's countless threads on virtually every social media platform of distributors asking for specific decorators and which ones are good, which ones can do this particular artwork, which ones have this particular capabilities or distribution or fulfillment aspects, or everything in between. So I think probably I'm going to go with 6 or 7 years ago, we added a module into our system, which I'll show you guys here in a little bit, that allows decorators to list their capabilities, and it basically just a listing to give them a little bit more exposure within our system for distributors to search and find them based on what their capabilities are. Now then again, go back to the why join Sage. You've got the business management tools that are the technology aspect to help everyone run their business and market themselves effectively. So from the distributor standpoint, it's going to be our program called a Sage Total Access, which is basically access to the three different platforms that we have available. So you can see we have Sage Online, we have Sage Web, which is an actual website, and then we have Sage Mobile, which is our mobile app that is actually pretty robust as far as functionality that allows you to do virtually the same things that you can do in each of the other two avenues to access all of your tools, your projects, obviously do product searching and your order management forms and all that good stuff, which I'll show you here in a demo in just a second. Then from the supplier standpoint, naturally you're going to have a mechanism for the suppliers to upload their product information, as well as then manage their advertising. So that's another way for suppliers to market their products and services is again with the different advertising opportunities, whether it's going to be a front page featured product ad, whether it's going to be a category ad or a banner ad or even a keyword ad. So depending on the keywords that somebody puts in, there could be a little ad to the right hand side that pertains to that particular keyword, which again, we try to make sure that it's not overloading and that it doesn't disrupt the user experience because first and foremost, Sage Online or Sage Web and Sage Mobile is a distributor user-based tool. But we found like we feel like we found a pretty good mix between allowing suppliers to again market themselves, advertise what they can do, as well as then provide a good distributor experience overall.
Jared, is a fair way to call the network in a way. It's almost like a fancy Google social media situation. I mean, you can search if your customer approaches you and they're like, I really need hard hats with my logo on it. I need something that I just can't go onto Sandmar and find. Or a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it, you have this network of products that are coming from suppliers. Then you have this network of decorators, and you as the distributor, as the shop, um, you're taking advantage of them. And then if you're also a shop that does like contract screen printing or contract embroidery, you can list your services on that same network saying, hey, I've got the equipment and the manpower. This is what we're good at. We want
Mm-hmm.
you to funnel us orders, but hey, I don't have a pad printer or a laser engraving machine, and I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in, printing pens. But again, Sage has that network where I can easily do it. So again, it's kind of calling it a Google network of industry suppliers, decorators, distributors. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think what we try to say now is it's more of like a business management solution because it does allow you to do exactly just that. It allows you to run your business as a whole,
Okay.
from everything from like again your order management of placing those orders with the different vendors to managing your projects to managing your marketing efforts between we have email marketing, we have different catalogs you can put together. There's a lot that goes into the
Okay.
platform that we've added over the years. But yes, to answer your
Okay.
question, I think that most of the time we always say, and this is actually the truth, this happened during the pandemic. We're one of the very last things that people could afford to turn off whenever things have been going sour, just because if you don't really have a mechanism for finding the right product or being able to um, place those orders with the suppliers, or it doesn't have a QuickBooks integration or anything like that, that's your business is really going to have a hard time getting over that. So again, it really is truly just a value add to your business in order to exist in the industry as a whole.
And the
If you leverage it
pandemic,
appropriately, yeah.
the pandemic in a weird way really, you know, has helped the promotional product industry. Would you agree? Because it seems like around 4 or 5 years ago, everybody, a lot of shops were desperate in how do we get, product to the things that are going to work. Everything from, if you think about it, like takeout orders, they got real popular. Well, what do you think that branded bag is? Even though
Hmm.
it's a plastic bag, it's still a promotional product. So every shop I've talked to, it seems like it's the pandemic is when they had the time to really pursue the promotional products and start diving into it. And now it's a bigger part of their business. Have you seen that as well, Jared?
I, I will say that yes, I think the pandemic it depends. Of course, you try to look at the silver lining to everything
Yeah.
when possible. And but I will say that it was very uh, encouraging to see how quick that our industry as a whole, whatever side of the fence you were on, how quick they were able to adapt and be nimble to what the needs were of the industry. And here's an example of this: is there's a local supplier of caps, and they were known for just making caps. And over the weekend, over one specific weekend, they were able to change out their machinery to start making masks just pretty much over a 3 day span because they knew that people weren't going to be buying hats anytime soon, but they were able to fill that void very quickly, and they were able to succeed in that short run, being able to satisfy what the industry needed. And I never would have thought that would have been able to happen, but I guess they had the right machinery in place to be able to do that. But that's a true story that actually happened, and they said that it pretty much saved their business, and they didn't have to lay anybody off. They were able to keep everybody employed and all that good stuff that goes along with it. So you can look at the again, like the nimbleness of the industry and the people and just entrepreneurs as a whole of being able to pivot their business in times of need, which goes to show the resiliency of our industry as a whole.
It's one of my favorite things about the industry. There's a lot of different revenue routes, sales channels you can pursue, and all at the same time. And
Hmm.
I'm really you're about to demonstrate, Sage's software, but guess what? If you want to sell these products, that's all you need. You don't need to be buying a bunch of equipment. You don't need to be, killing yourself. You need a partner like Sage to help connect you, so that you can offer these products. And Jared, I always assumed, well, if I offer, tumblers and I'm outsourcing it, I'm going to make like 10% off the product. No, there's great money. I mean, it is at around a 40% markup on most products.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's typically the average is about 35 to 40% markup on most of the on most products that are in there. Yeah. So obviously that depends on the amount that you're selling, but yeah, it's great margin. I mean, it's definitely attainable. And to your point is without you having to have a significant investment in actual resources, like you don't have to have a huge shop, you don't have to have a lot of machinery or equipment in order to make it work. I know plenty of distributors that work out of their house, and the pretty much the only thing they have is a laptop and a printer just to be able
Yep.
to keep things intact. So it doesn't take a lot. The barrier to entry is actually your own education and your own desire to get out there and try and hustle.
Yep. One job. When you don't decorate, you have one job. Go sell. That's it.
Right,
It
that's it.
makes life a lot simpler. When you have equipment, things break. You've got to learn how to print something special. Trust me, I'm in my own shop right now. And there are days where it's like, gosh, why am I doing any decorating myself? Just outsource it all. And
Yeah,
that's where I see the industry going.
yeah,
Especially nowadays, Jared, I see it going buy a heat press, maybe press your own transfers. Do not, I just see it more and more. There's somebody out there who will screen printer and border at such a great contract price, just like these products can be these hard goods, that I see a big trend of, hey, let the big guys do the hard work. You do only what you feel comfortable with, what you enjoy. Let somebody else make the investment. You make a little bit less money, but gosh, there's so much less to worry about. And in our industry, Jared, one of the worst things that happened with the pandemic, it's so hard to find great labor and employees
hmm
who will, even show up to work and give you a full hard day's worth of work. So by being able to outsource these types of orders, just one less thing that not have to worry about.
Sure, sure. Yeah. I mean, and I think that you hit the nail on the head, especially when you talk about the equipment and not having to worry about that aspect of it. And that's huge. I mean, especially, and it's not, especially if it's not something that you specialize in. being able to, a certain decorating technique where you can offset that to somebody that really does have that, the newest and the greatest and the technology that goes along with it, and the speed for that matter. Like nowadays, you can have certain vendors that are able to turn around things in less than a day, depending on what the product is and the decorating. So, we're able to leverage that a lot better. Again, especially with the technology advancements that go along with the equipment these days. But
Yeah,
go
sorry,
ahead.
Jared, but like we have a user, good friend of mine, same day tees, and they are on Sage's network as a decorator. They
Hmm.
can literally screen print hundreds of shirts the same day, because they're set up for it with their equipment and everything. And I screen print, I embroider in my shop, but I don't have 50 heads of embroidery, hundreds like some of
Hmm.
the decorators do. So even if you do a process in house, you may not have the equipment for that larger run. And it's,
Hmm.
yeah, again, have the confidence to outsource the job. And like your slide shows, I mean, practically anything that's a promo product can be outsourced through Sage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny too because I would go to certain shows. There, I remember there was a show that it's no longer around, but it used to be called the Motivation Show that was in Chicago. This is 15 years ago, and the things that you would put that they were able to put a logo on was so out of the realm of what you would think. I saw logos or debossed logos on recliners that were like hunting related, and I saw like on ATVs, so forerunners would have logos. They would be all tricked out with logos on it, and they would be giving that away. Well, I mean, it made sense the way that they would have it designed. Like, oh, okay, well, somebody wins a four wheeler from this particular event or this company, which is great branding, great exposure. So it's not something that's cheesy per se, but I mean, I've seen it on literally everything. Blenders, I've seen it on. I mean, so the world is really at your fingertips. I promise you, you'll find somebody that can put a logo on whatever it is. I can assure you, especially in today's world with the technology that's available. But you can see here, like just and the reason why I put this image up is because a lot of times, and you hit on this a little bit earlier, is there was a misconception or a stigma related to promo products as being well, I'll just say it, trinkets and trash, right? Or
Yep,
swag, which is,
yep.
stuff we all get, right? And we're trying to change a lot of that to, and a lot of that goes into people's green initiatives that are out there as far as not creating, and this is actually a new term that I've heard within the last year. They call it brand fill, meaning that it's all just stuff that's logo that you may get at an event that you're never going to use, and it's just, for lack of a better term, crap. And so people just throw it away. And so people are taking a concerted effort to not provide that sort of thing just to put a logo on something and actually take really good thought and effort into what you're providing from a branding or an event perspective. And so a lot of times too, whenever we'll go to an event or say a trade show where you'll have somebody that's not really familiar with selling promo, they'll say just that. They're like, I don't know, I don't want to be selling pins because it's just I don't feel like there's not much money. I don't want to have a $300 pin order and I make $100 on it or whatever it could be. And you go, okay, well, don't sell pins. That was always my reaction is
Yeah.
just somebody comes to you with a pin order, tell them that's not what you do. Tell them, hey, by the way, we've got these great tumbler mugs that retail for $45, and we've got some padfolios and some jackets and some backpacks, and you put together a little showroom that has really nice high-end items that gets their juices flowing, and it gets them away from the, well, again, the other term was, tchotchkes or whatever that could be, and those little keychains or again some pins or whatever that ends up being, um, something that people don't want necessarily to have. So I encourage you if you are starting to get involved with this or you're starting to have some customers asking about it, is really try to cultivate your product line and get some experience in those particular verticals to know what those product lines are and lean on those suppliers. I mentioned earlier trying to find a network of, say 25 suppliers, and you may just want to start with 10 suppliers that are really good core suppliers that have a pretty wide array of product line and work with them. And I promise you, they'll have the resources. They'll help you with projects to know, hey, this particular customer has this much of a budget, and this is the event that they're trying to run. and they'll help you suggest different products and help you run with it, or the program business, all that good stuff. So
Yeah, I'm a big fan of getting samples. That way I can meet with the customer. Hey, you want a pen? This is the 20-cent pen. This is the $1.50. This is the one that somebody's going to keep on their desk. They're going to look at it every day. This is the one they're going to pitch in the trash immediately, and it's no good. And I was just at an event this weekend, um, and they had folios with our names engraved on them for everybody
nice.
who attended. Well, guess what? We sent these. This is a nice folio that's branded, but guess what? It wasn't as nice as this one. So
Mhm.
this is what everybody used. This got tossed in the back. But what we also sent were nice Pilot branded pens,
Mhm.
and I got several compliments throughout the 2 days. Like, man, these are nice pens. And I was like, yeah, you're gonna keep it. You're gonna guess what? When I'm writing, the logo literally faces me. I mean, the cost per impression. If you think about running like a Google ad, the
Oh
cost
yeah.
per impression, the cost per click versus giving your customer a nice pen. So this Pilot pen blank is $1, printed $1.50. So for
Mhm.
50 cents, I know that this, I mean, again, throughout college, this was my go-to pen. Now we have our logo on it. I get a lot of compliments, and you know, I have a marketing degree. I took consumer behavior classes. When your customer sees your logo on something, they make the perception that, okay, if they offer a quality promo product, they probably care about quality when it comes to their actual goods and services. It's kind of
Absolutely.
crazy to think like that, but if you are a premium brand and then you get the cheapest possible promo product and you're
Mhm.
handing that out, your customers are making bad assumptions about what your business is all about. So yeah, the trinkets and trash, I like quality and practical are my favorite types of promo products. And just like you said, it was so funny because if I open my kitchen drawer where I have my spoons and my forks, who knows how many times that drawer is opened every day. But right next to it, bottle opener, branded, and everything. So you're absolutely right. Um, Even if the product's not used, as long as they keep it, it's doing a lot for whoever gave it to them or sold it to them.
Yeah, I used to do this whenever I'd speak at different trade shows, or just any kind of event, and I would ask everybody to I go what they'd have a backpack with them, or again you said a pad fill it. I go, everybody just right now whatever you have on you and or in front of you, just with you, count up how many products or whatever you have that has a brand on it, like a logo on it, and people started digging through their backpack or digging through their portfolio, and they look at their shirt, they look at their cap, and they look at whatever they have, their keychain, and they're like, man, I have 35 items that have a logo, and they didn't even really pay
Yep.
attention to that fact. So it's like the industry is alive and well. And again, going back to the benefit of being aligned with PPAI, the Industry Association, they have all of those statistics that are right there at your fingertips to be able to take out with you for client visits when you're recommending different product selections. They have all that data to back up with the impression statistics and all of that nature. So that you'll be able to lean on them with that as well. Okay, so just to keep things moving along, the last thing I think was this slide. Sorry about that. It was how much, right? So I'll just run through all these right here. So the Sage Total Access license is $595 annually or $59 a month. And that's for your one license, and that's with the principal of the company or whoever's typically using that program. For each additional license, it's $95 annually or $9 a month. And of course, most people go, well, that's quite a substantial license differential cost. And you're going, and our methodology behind that is, listen, we want people to have the appropriate number of licenses for their account and not try to share and that sort of thing, because that drives the experience a little crazy when you're trying to manage your projects, your notifications, and all that good stuff that goes along with it. So it's actually extremely affordable. Again, that does include your membership to the industry association, so you get that benefit of that all within that 595. And then people always ask too, with the $59 a month, why do we offer that as an option? And we do realize that there are times, especially if you're trying to get familiar or get into the industry, that you may not need it full year right from the start. So you may want to just dabble in that towards the holidays this year. Say, you know what, I'm going to see if we can add on a little bit of additional revenue for the holiday season. I would suggest you get started on that around the September, October timeframe. That's typically when the orders start getting put together for the holiday season. But ask those customers that come in if they have end of year gifts for their employees or anything like that, and just purchase Sage for maybe 2 months during that time frame and see what kind of additional revenue comes out of that. See if that spurs some additional interest. Get more familiar with those suppliers to where then, at some point in time, you feel like, okay, it's probably worth it for us to go ahead and get it for the year. But we have no problem with you coming back and forth, come on and off as you see fit, because we realize that's how your business is run. And we want to make it as easy for you as possible. Now, with the supplier side of things, that's a little bit different, just because if you have a catalog, you have products, you have a factory, you have warehouse, obviously you're pot committed at that point. So we do offer that only from an annual perspective of the 595, and that gets you the ability to again input all of your products within the database. It gives you the ability to run your stats, so you can see what products people are clicking on the most. So you can see, hey, this seems to be working out well. Run those analytics, and then it allows you the opportunity to be able to advertise. And again, that all the different advertising options we have available is customizable based on what your needs are. And then you have a dedicated supplier advertising rep that would work with them on that perspective. And then the last thing there is exactly what we were referring to earlier, is the decorator membership. So that if you wanted to be listed in the system as a decorator, then that would be the $195 annually, or $19 a month if you wanted to go that direction as well. So then, and most of the time when you're dealing with from a decorator standpoint, if you have the bandwidth to be your own distributor, as well as then have the capabilities to offer decorating services to other distributors out there, then most people do get both. They have the Sage Total Access license, and then they have the decorator membership to complement that. Now, then there's sometimes where you're like, okay, I don't have the need necessarily for the Sage Total Access license, but I am a decorator and I want to do that first and foremost because that is my core business. Then naturally, for that marketing exposure, then that would be worth the $19 a month or the $195 annually. And then as needed, you can add on the $59 a month, or go ahead when the time is right, add on that Sage Total Access license. So you can kind of customize it a la carte based on your needs and your business model.
Jared, I'm going to be honest. I thought it was more expensive because your competition is more expensive. Um, $59 a month to gain access to that whole network, that's a drop in the bucket compared to, missing out. I used to love Jared to say, no, no, I don't do that, or we can't do that. But every time you say no to 1,000 piece order, it's out of our comfort zone. Sorry, we can't do it. You don't have to say no. You just got to get on to Sage's network and find the right decorator and or supplier to help you fulfill that job. And before you know it, you've made $59 6 times off of just one order because you had the tools available to you. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
very affordable. Plus the PPAI. I mean, great all-in-one package.
Yeah, it's a great option. We've always been, and that stems from the very first slide where we talked about the value oriented aspect of things. I mean, and we realize that we are probably a more affordable option when it comes to our competition out there. But make no bones, we make a pretty good business out of this. But we also realize that we don't need to gouge our customers, and we want them to come back and get the appropriate number of licenses, and then obviously to purchase some of our other options that we have. We have a number of different marketing tools, from store options to website options, that naturally will add on to those prices, but that you buy that as needed. But going back to when you have a customer that comes in the door and you say, you know what, I don't know if I really want to get that. The reality is they're still buying it. They're just not buying it from you. So then
Yep.
that does open up your nose a little bit to say, well, if somebody else is willing to do that and they can do the decorating, then you have the potential of even losing that customer. So it's better to be, I wouldn't say necessarily you have to be a jack of all trades, but you can say, hey, I don't offer that, but I can offer this because these are the suppliers I trust and do business with currently. And then as needed, then you can expand upon the supplier base as you feel comfortable. And we've got some mechanisms in place that'll help you with that, which I'll show you as we get into the demo. From like a rating standpoint, a review standpoint, just like you would think of when you think of like Amazon or Yelp or anything like that, that'll help your cause.
Well, hey, we always strive to kind of be an all-in-one shop. But when it comes to promo, what I've seen, because I've talked to hundreds of shops every year, I promise everybody watching this, the amount of shops offering promo products, it just keeps going up. And those who do offer it, it's becoming a bigger part of their business. But what I've seen is you have to start considering offering promo products because the competition who does the same services as you do in-house, but are using a Sage to
Mhm.
be able to fulfill all the customers' wants and needs. Customers like that one-stop shop. They like to know, hey, I need a branded product. I'm going to call this guy. They don't like having to go to this guy, this guy, this guy, or girl, gal. But it's having that one-stop shop capability, and the fact that more and more shops are joining a Sage, you really have to consider doing it if you want to keep up with the industry trends and everything else. And there's just no reason not to. It's the misconceptions, I think, Jared. Again, I'm the prime candidate for who should be signing up for Sage. Now I do more consulting than anything, but just in general, promo products, if you don't want your competition to steal your business, you got to start doing
Mhm.
them. Doesn't mean you have to decorate them, just means you
Yeah.
need to be able to source them easily. So, with that, Jared, you want to show us how Sage works?
Yeah, I can jump into the one that I'm going to show you today is going to be Sage Online. So this is, and Zach, you can see my screen.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, so this is Sage Online. This is the program that this is the main menu. And I know at times you'll look at the screen, go, there seems like there's an awful lot going on. But then your eyes will visually get to the ones that the areas that make a lot of sense for you. So as we go across the top, and I'm not going to be able to go into depth on a lot of this just because we don't have the time today, but I do feel I would be remiss if I didn't at least point it out so you can see all of the different modules that we have available within the platform. And to put it in perspective, I've been with the company 18 years. And when I first started, there were 4 buttons on the main menu screen. And now you can see here as we go along this, there are, I don't know, what, 15 or so. So we've come a long way in just those 18 years that I've been with the company. But the main ones that we're going to go through are going to be these top ones as we go through. But before we do that, I did want to point out at least what these other ones are, so you have a general idea of how the system operates. So again, these are pretty self-explanatory. You got product search, supplier search, and then the decorator search. So these are the 3 that we've primarily focused on. We do have a specials area for suppliers to list all of their specials, so it's a good marketing arm for those suppliers to be able to list those. We have a clients area, which basically serves as the CRM for the system. So for those that aren't familiar with that, a customer relationship manager where you can upload all of your client info, or you can type it in manually. But what that allows you to do is keep track of all of the activity that you have within a different any given client. You can set up tasks to follow up with them at specific times of the year, or you can set them into specific groups or vertical markets and say, hey, I want to make sure I contact all of my school districts the towards the end of July because I want to get things ready for the school year and just see if they need anything or have any projects that they might need to work with. So you can have all that stuff to where the system works for you when you talk about that clients area. The projects area is just that. So it allows you when you do have a specific project with a client, it'll allow you, or especially if you have many people at your office, it allow a lot of the office as a whole to figure out where you are in the process so you don't miss any steps. So you can set up specific triggers to say, hey, have we done a product search yet? Have we checked for credit references? You'll see that one in there. You'll see, and then have we gotten their artwork, and have we gotten the proof approved? And then have we submitted it to the supplier? So you can set up any of those specific triggers within the projects area as needed. Um, the next one, presentations. So this goes hand in hand with most of the product search and supplier search. It's just your mechanism to be able to get information to your clients, to be able to have them choose which ones. You can have multiple images, and I'll probably show you a presentation just so you can get an idea of what that looks like. But there's a lot of technology that goes in behind that too. So your customers can actually comment on any particular product, and you would get those alerts to say, hey, this customer has commented on this. They may ask, hey, can we get this in red? Hey, does this come with a, a lid on top of the mug, or I couldn't really tell from the image? And you can respond directly back. And so it's more of a collaboration tool at that point, without you having to invest in any other additional technology tools. Below that is going to be a virtual sample scenario. So we do offer that. It's technology that allows you to have a particular product that comes up from the supplier, and you can erase the logo that's the stock logo on there and put your customer's logo on there. So it makes for more of a professional presentation when you send them that information or that presentation to that client. The orders I've mentioned before allows you to, okay, once you finally get that presentation back, they're ready to move forward with that. You can convert your presentation or the products that they're ready to move forward with into the orders area or into the order management forms to be able to then send to the suppliers, to then send to the client as needed, without you having to rekey a lot of that information. So if you needed to, convert that over, and it allows you to also work with the decorators. So it allows so some of you that are decorators that are already listed within the system, you've probably seen some of the order management forms that have come from Sage because of your listing in the Sage tools. So the orders area allows you to, again, just manage that. It does integrate directly with QuickBooks. Most of the industry does utilize that from a distributor basis. I know from a decorating standpoint, there's other platforms that are out there that do integrations, and then obviously DecoNetwork has theirs. So there's those aspects of it. But from a QuickBooks perspective, most distributors use that, and so it's nice to be able to not have to rekey those orders because it does integrate directly with that tool. And then as we go through payments, so we allow payment processing directly within the system, makes it easy for you to do that. Email campaigns I've touched on before, so you can set up specific email campaigns with your clients. And again, that works in conjunction with the clients area. So all of your clients that are already loaded into the system, you can say, I want to set up an email campaign for all of my restaurants to send them, these particular 5 products because they seem to work well, and I want that to occur on every other month. And so you can set those up ahead of time. We have a print studio, allows you to create catalogs or utilize the catalogs that we have in place to be able to either print those, which we have in-house, meaning that we create them custom in-house, and we can turn around those catalogs within, I think it's around 48 hours to get that out the door to you. So if you have a specific event that you want to, like say you're going to either see a client or you're going to, say, a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and you need to print out 25 little small catalogs in order to give those attendees a general idea of what you can offer, you can do that as well. And that doesn't have to be just promo products. So you can add whatever you want. If you wanted to showcase your decorating capabilities, you can upload those in as a product, and then create your own descriptions, price points, any of that sort of thing. So the print studio can be leveraged in a lot of different ways. And then you've got some other ones here that I'm not going to get into, but we have a file center, a community area, which is more of a discussions area, chat, and then newsstand, and then the different trade shows that the industry puts on that allows you to manage those and the time frames associated with them. So that's a kind of a whirlwind way of going through just the main menu. But again, I want you to understand exactly how a lot of these interact with each other, and then what you can do with it. So enough of hearing me speak. You probably want to see me actually do. So then I'll show you a product search just so you can understand how that looks. And this kind of gets into where you go, okay, this is the search screen. There looks like there's 50 fields on this screen. And you're like, well, actually there's about 60 on this screen. So but you can change that. So a lot of times people need a lot of these just based on the criteria that their customer is asking for. If this is a little overwhelming to you, we can help you set it up to where then you can change the view. So over here to the right, if I click on this view option, it'll simplify it to the main search criteria that most people use, which is like category, keywords, and colors. And then you can even switch it to even more generic, to more of like a Google search. If you can just say, hey, I'm looking for, red polos, and it'll do that. But as you get more familiar with the system, you can leverage all of these areas as well. We do actually have a new system. We have recently added in and been able to leverage AI, artificial intelligence, into our platform, which is what we have the ideas area for. So you can click on the ideas button and say exactly what you're looking for and what the event is, and you hit the get ideas button, and it'll actually give you a number of different ideas related to that event. So if I say um, uh, client looking for uh, or client having a golf tournament and looking for product ideas between five and $10. And then this will spit out different ideas available within the golf tournament.
So
Takes a little
when
bit of time because it is going out into the world, but you can see the different options that come available. As you go through, I can actually hit this button again, and it will give you completely different ideas, because every time it is unique. Everything is going to be unique. And so then as we go through golf balls, I can hit search it, and it'll bring up the golf balls related to it. But really helpful tool if you're kind of stuck with trying to find different or new ideas.
you got 1.2 million products to search through, AI is going to be a little helpful.
Yes, that would be a little helpful. So the main two boxes you'll see at the very top, there's a reason why they're at the very top. So I always say start with a category, and it's really like you got to think as broad as possible whenever you're trying to find a particular item. So an example of this is, you say your client is looking for basketballs. Well, you break it down even further and you go, okay, well, what is it? Well, it's a ball. So then you put it under the category of balls, and then the keywords will be, okay, now what kind of ball? And then the keywords area is where you would put basketball, if that makes sense. Now, that's not to say if you don't put anything in the category field and then you put in keywords, it would still bring up basketballs, but just to kind of give you an idea. But in this case, we'll do something that's pretty relevant. So I'll just do mugs. And as I type, you'll notice this menu over here to the right moves with me. So you can see if it's going to be considered a valid category or keyword. So that kind of helps you out as you move as well. And if I did something very simple, like I said, mugs, I want it to be stainless, and I want it to have a handle, and I want it to be 16 ounces. So, and again, I don't want to go through all of these different ones that are available, but I do want to point out one or two more things on this screen, which is the ratings. So we do have ratings in place for all the suppliers. They're actually down here, A down to F. And so this is based not on our perspective. This is based on other fellow distributors. We don't change the ratings based on how much money they spend with us or whatever. It's based on what the general public determines for the ratings for those particular suppliers. So especially if you're just trying to get familiar with the system, I would always encourage you to start with B or better rated suppliers. That'll give you a pretty good idea of you're dealing with top quality suppliers with top quality decorating techniques. And then I'll just hit start search so you can see what comes up. Okay. So even within all that criteria where it says B or better, it needs to be stainless, needs to have a handle, 16 ounces, you can see that that gave me 211 products. And then from there, you can drill down based on features. Most people are familiar with what they call a drill down menu. But if I was looking at this particular product, I can click on that and it will give me all the information that I need available to it. So I could say, hey, here's the net cost for this product, and then the profit associated with it, and then here's the recommended price associated with it. Now, I actually changed the pricing for this particular supplier because I may have a relationship with them. So that's why it says the net across all the quantities is the same. So I'll go back and find one that probably doesn't have that just for illustration purposes. Let me see.
Because you may have EQP pricing with that supplier, and now you're getting
Correct.
EQP for any.
Right.
And we have
Right.
live inventory in here as well. I'm sorry, I can't see that.
No, yep. So that's a good question. So then as you go through, it'll give you, and again, this goes back to the images, so you can see the different images that are available. This one actually has the pricing set up as it normally sees, as you normally see it. So for 24, 1950 is the net cost. That's what the distributor pays. And again, you can charge whatever you want, but this is the recommended price, 29.99. And then naturally that price point goes down with the higher the quantities. Now, then you mentioned the inventory, so you can look over here to the right and it says there's 1,202 that are in stock. If I click on this little arrow, it'll tell me based on the different attributes, whether it's, especially from like an apparel standpoint, it'll tell you, like, it'll break it down by size and then by color, and you can see what you have on hand that the supplier is sending to us, and you can see the last time that they sent us that information. So pretty helpful. As you go down below, you'll see all the different decorating options that they have available. Laser engraving, one location, what it includes, some of the additional information related to it. And then up at the top, you'll notice that it gives you a number of different tabs going across. So for instance, just the supplier profile, it'll tell you where they're located, what their rating is, how long they've been in business. If you want to find out more information regarding their supplier rating, you can hit the details options and it'll give you all the commentary that you want. We've even added AI into the review summary. So you can see this is it actually, we've incorporated everyone's comments into one summary review. So you don't have to read every single one of those, which is nice to be able to do that. So leveraging AI is really becoming pretty helpful, especially if you know how to incorporate it into the correct platforms. As you go across, it'll tell you the general info related to them, the artwork specs that are that they need or the formats that they work with. And again, as you go across, you can change a lot of these. But again, for the sake of time, going to go back. And then the other thing I was going to show you is the supplier search. Works virtually the same way, but it depends if you're looking for a particular supplier. You can do it that way. You can say, hey, I'm looking for, hit promo, and you can segment out hit. Then you can pick all the products for to have those come up. Where this actually is very helpful is if you come down here to the category, where if you say, hey, I want to find all of the suppliers that provide backpacks, and then it'll just list all of those suppliers, and then you can click on any one of those where you say, okay, great, Gold Bond has backpacks, and then down at the bottom I can click on all of those products related to Gold Bond. So kind of helpful ways. There's a million different ways. I would encourage you, or what typically happens is when you sign up for those services, you get assigned a Sage account advisor, and they will work with you in order to get you familiar with the system. It's a lot to try to consume all at one time. So we don't encourage you to just try to do everything all at once because it's very overwhelming. But we'll help you out, and especially if you have specific projects, we'll help you out with trying to find the right products for those particular projects. The last thing I was going to show you here, because I know we're running out of time, is going to be the decorator search. It's virtually works the same way. So you can type in a particular customer or company that you're looking for. You can base it on location, which is actually very applicable. You'd be surprised how many people that you'll see that'll post and say, hey, I'm looking for a decorator that is in the Des Moines area, even though I'm in Texas, because of one reason or another, but they need to find that. So does anybody have anybody they can recommend? And we can actually provide that right here from a location standpoint. Or again, probably the most uh, applicable is going to be based on their services. So hey, these are the decorators that we've got in place that have a decorator listing with us that offer 4-color process. So you can click on one of these, and it gives you their information. It'll tell you who the contacts are, and as you go across what art formats they take, and as you go through, and you can reach out to them and see if they can help you out based on their capabilities. So, and with that, that's probably all we're going to really have time for. I know that we were getting close to around the hour mark.
Oh, Jared, you've never done one of these with me. You don't realize there's no such thing. I say half an hour, hour and a half. My employees over there laughing like, yeah. Um, Now, again, Jared, you've shared a lot. Obviously, Sage is yellow, the yellow pages, but a lot more. Again, when I said like it's a network with Google, again, a lot more than that. Um, your customer approaches you, you can find that product, you can source it, vet that decorator, and have confidence that you're going to be able to deliver that product to your customer. They're going to be happy, and we're going to hit the deadline. And that is something, everybody should know about promotional products. Lead times are typically a little bit longer. They could be everything from a week to a day to several weeks or even a month potentially, depending on what you're trying to outsource and who's doing the actual decorating. So always keep that in mind. And the way you're doing it right now is just one way. Sage also provides, if you want, you can have a website, and that website you can send your customers to so they can do a lot of this themselves, or you can meet with your customer, use the front end of the website, or build a presentation to do it with them. So there's a lot of different tools and ways you can go about it. I mean, at DecoNetwork, we have a lot of users who are Sage users, and they'll have their DecoNetwork website where they'll have all their apparel. And then on their main navigation, promo products, it then takes them to their Sage website, just like what Jared's showing us. And now their customers can come here and navigate the products. Jared, can the websites be in quote mode and not just order mode?
Oh yeah, and primarily that's the way it works.
Yeah.
It's just because the customers don't have all of their information necessarily at their fingertips. They don't know, what the setup charges are typically, or they don't know how many colors are actually in their embroidery. So most of the time that is the case. But you can have the options to turn on whether or not it's place order, request a quote, or request more information. So that's pretty standard. However, I will say now where that does get converted is whenever we have company stores. So specific stores for dedicated clients is by far the biggest selling product that we've offered in, I'd say, probably the last 5 years. And especially during the pandemic when customers were trying to have more employee engagement, is hey, how do we stay in touch? How do we, make sure our employees, even though they're working from home, how do we make sure that they feel like they're a part of the community and part of the culture still at the company? So they'll set up specific stores for those particular employees, or we call them an employee store, but it doesn't really matter what it is. But those have been wildly successful because those products are curated. They're already set. You already know what the customer's logo is. The pricing is ready to go. And that way those customers can just check out, and we can have those that will can be charged back to the actual company. We can have it to where the customer actually checks out using their credit card. You can use employee points. So there's a lot of options when it comes to the different store options that are available. But again, there's so much to discover when you talk about getting involved. But again, the core product that we offer, and again, without trying to overload everybody, is naturally you have to have the Sage back end system, the Sage Online tool, in order to have all of this really work, right?
And Jared, I went to a trade show a month or so ago, signed up for Sage demo. A couple things I really like. One, you can do a trial with Sage risk
Mm-hmm.
free.
Yep.
Secondly, my rep did not annoy me, but was continuously asking me, "Hey, can I help you? Is there any questions?" Because like you've shown, there's a lot going on, and I really liked how that rep was really treating me as if I'm a client and, hey, what do you need to get started and so forth. So,
Hmm.
um, everybody out there, one, do a demo with Sage.
Yeah.
Two, what do you got to lose when you have a trial? So the demo is going to allow you to really learn how it works. Then you can do that trial and see for yourself, hey, you know what? This is worth way more than $50, $59 a month, obviously. And then from there, sign up and grow with it. It's just like with any piece of software, it takes time to really get the hang of it. But it's everything is there, and that PPAI capability. I mean, Jared, it used to be, at least this is my perspective, those who sold promo products and so forth, they didn't do any decorating themselves. For years, it was, hey, I have an extra bedroom. I'm going to make it my office, and I'm not going to touch a product, and I'm going to outsource all of it. And
Yeah.
that's where I always saw promotional products. But now it's us who decorate who want to open up the product line and mix to your customers. So Sage is built from everybody for the startup to the
Mhm.
really well established business. And the tools are there for everybody, whether you're big, small. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? You actually open up an interesting topic because that does you have such a significant advantage, especially in today's world with like the variable printing options and having that. You mentioned the guy that was able to crank out those T-shirts in such a quick fashion. That a lot of that has changed. That technology has changed the substrates and all that that goes along with it has changed so much. So it's so um, fast and variable that. It does give you a significant advantage, over just the traditional promo product distributor, especially when you're talking about from a speed perspective. So yeah, take that to heart whenever you're trying to engage with your customer base in that regard.
Yeah, that shop who does the same day, they have two digital squeegee machines. You're talking about $500,000 plus pieces of equipment each. And that's
Hmm.
something that a lot of us aren't going to take that dive. We don't need to. And when you look at the contract prices, it's like, why would I want to go that route myself? Um, and that's just where the industry's going. I mean, really is. Um, yeah, promo. You've got to start offering it, and just know that you just need to join Sage. Where can one of our viewers sign up for a demo, learn more about Sage, and so forth, Jared?
Yeah, I was going to say it was on the last slide, but I would say just if you want to go to our website, Sage World, to poke around, feel free to do that. That'll give you you'll be primarily under the distributor section where you can kind of look through the different options that we have available. We do have some forms that are just on the website. Like, hey, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, or we can, if you're trying to get started, then you just hit distributor sales, put in your information, and then somebody will reach out to you in order to get you started. And a lot, like you said earlier, we are very known for our customer service and not trying to oversell anybody because it is a relationship aspect, and most of our customers have been customers for like 5, 10, 15 plus years. And that's because there is an evolution that goes along with it. And so as the websites, continue to evolve, they, end up getting different models and products. And then again, those stores I mentioned. So we're not a hard sell kind of company because we just know and we feel like, that it's not a one stop, it's not a one transactional scenario,
Yeah,
so it's a partnership. And we try to work together and become your advocate for the industry as well.
makes sense, Jared. Well, thank you so much for being our guest. Again, hopefully we can do this again, maybe in a podcast style where we don't have to share slides and I don't rant and delay the actual demo. But Jared, thank you so much for your time.